Today's guest, we have Zach Bailey, who is the CEO of Elite Self. And Zach, you're someone who, as we've talked about before, really is a big champion of the idea that you need to take care of your health first and foremost before you can achieve success in anything, whether it's as an entrepreneur, if you're a janitor, a teacher. But I want to take it back first and ask you, what is it that got you into fitness first and foremost?
Yeah, so I was lucky to have a mom who used to be a personal trainer, but more than that, she was just a very large advocate for just living a healthy life. She lived by example. And so both myself and my brother were very grateful that, she forced us to go play outside. She kept it like a pretty much 100% healthy household in regards of like the food we ate and like everything like this. We are the kids with the healthy lunches at school. We were always jealous that the other kids came to school with like the Rice Krispies and like, like the Dunkaroos and all the good stuff. And we never got that. And at the time it was like, come on, like give us a little something here. But looking back, that was just one example of many of how my mom just by pure will and just identity just forged my brother and I into this lifestyle. She also showed us kind of like in middle school, kind of like the basics of just like home workouts. We had some dumbbells that she used herself. And so just by leading through example and by kind of like forcing us, and, we didn't get like the PlayStation until like later, and, things like this, where it's like my mom, I can accredit it all to her. Long story short, she kind of forced us into it. At the time, it wasn't fun. Usually when you enter into your fitness or health journey or something of this nature, it's never really fun because you sacrifice a lot of short-term pleasure to really go for it. And so my brother and I, we went through that at a very young age. And since then it's become a part of who we are. And we've kind of just ran with it from there.
That's something that I've actually thought about and reflected on a lot when you're talking about the environment for kids growing up with their health and food, and how much can you let a kid be a kid versus what are the detrimental long-term effects it's going to have on their health and their habits. And how do you reflect on that now looking back, if you wanted to, let's say, have kids, or when you think about giving advice to parents on how you strike a balance between letting kids enjoy childhood, because those core memories can be very key to their emotional experience as they get older, versus not letting them become addicted to drinking Pepsi and eating fruit roll-ups, because then the long-term health effects are going to be catastrophic.
Yeah, it's a very interesting dynamic, one that I haven't spent a lot of time around in regards of like what I plan to do. I think that it comes down to a value system and more so just kind of like a general philosophy where it's there. I think there are several very fine lines in this journey, and it's really also hard to throw a blanket statement on this. But I would say we did have those instances too. It's not like we were just like, like pure, like, didn't have any junk food or anything. Like we still like did a little bit of that and had a little bit. I think that it's just intuitively, I think it's important as a parent to teach your kids that they can do a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and that it's okay. But there, like I said, there's a fine line between that and teaching your kids that like having it all the time is like a good lifestyle to have, where we want to prioritize health, but we also want to teach your kids that you can have some form of short-term pleasure, and you can enjoy life and have these experiences, but just instilling in them a value system that they should prioritize in regards of context of health and fitness. The number one thing is health and having energy and just being active, having, functional strength. Like these things should not be compromised. But then outside of that, there's still a little bit of wiggle room to have this and to have that, but to be careful to not make it a lifestyle where you're having junk food all the time and you're doing this, because that will be a detriment to their lifestyle. And you don't want to teach your kids that that's okay, in my opinion.
So when did you marry the idea of how you prioritize and put importance on health and fitness with being an entrepreneur and wanting to help other people make a positive impact in their life with becoming the elite version of themselves?
Yeah. So for me, like health and fitness, it was always just kind of on the back burner. Like it wasn't even really a focus of mine as an entrepreneur. Like that's kind of like asking, like, when did you decide to brush your teeth while being an entrepreneur? It's like, there was no decision. It's just what I do. It's just who I am. And this is a crucial point that a lot of like people, entrepreneurs specifically, need to get to, is they feel like it's this whole other endeavor that's going to take up so much bandwidth and energy and time, and it's going to be this whole process that's going to take away from their business. When in reality, even if you spend extra time doing it, it gives you time back, it gives you energy back, it gives you creativity back, because it just levels you up. It levels up your cognitive performance, your energy. It makes you a higher level version of yourself, a higher confidence version of yourself, and you're able to grow whatever your entity is at a much more efficient rate. And so I kind of realized this intuitively. For me, my health and fitness journey kind of came in different segments. So for example, when I first dropped out of university, I dropped out of engineering. At that point, I was shredded. I've been shredded for a while, but I didn't prioritize my energy, and my nutrition and my health, right? It's pretty much just eating whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. I have a fast metabolism. Like, I got away with it, right? And so at that point, health and energy and that optimization wasn't really a factor for me. I had the body, which means I could, go into fitness coaching, and it started to work. But as it evolved, it started to become more than just health, like more than just like the aesthetic, where I realized, okay, if I really want to max out my potential, I need to be the sharpest version of myself mentally. I need to have energy. I can't afford this midday dip in my energy anymore. I can't afford like snoozing, like pressing snooze and sleeping an extra 30 minutes or an hour. Like, if I need more sleep, let me create an intentional sleep schedule instead of just letting the tail wag the dog and just like breaking a promise to myself every single morning and pressing snooze, right? So in a more recent like stages of my entrepreneurship journey, I've prioritized my health and my energy and my vitality and my cognitive performance a lot more. Fitness has always been there. It always will be there. It's like, I would feel like crap without it for sure, but it's not even like a reality for me. So it's just like, I need it. And so I've been prioritizing recent things around like my hydration levels, my sleep, my nutrition timing, and just to make sure I'm the sharpest version of myself. But it's something that I would advocate to every single entrepreneur. In regards of helping people, and like when I decided to start helping people with this, when I first started this company, it was just like a health and fitness, helping dudes get abs, just something to make a few bucks on the side. For me, was my intention. But since then, and this is an important thing with self-growth and entrepreneurship, as you take more steps forward, you often find more and more clarity with what it is you're doing and what you're meant to do. And it's kind of like driving on the highway at night, where the more you drive forward, the more road you see. And so for me, I started this entity, this company. And at the start, like I said, just to make a few bucks on the side, just to, it's something to do essentially. And then now it's turned into my main endeavor, where we have a massive mission of helping to solve every single world problem. And we have a scope of practice where, yes, we help entrepreneurs with their health and fitness. It's often the most high leverage area of opportunity when a person starts. But there's self-growth. A lot of people think health and fitness and self-growth are kind of different things. There are two sides of the same coin. Like, health and fitness is a fundamental pillar of self-growth, because you can't really separate the body and the mind, or your body and your emotions. Like, they're all so interconnected that health and fitness must be under control. And then beyond that, there are different like areas of growth depending on the person you want to become, and namely the person you must become to achieve your max potential in life and business. And that's kind of like the punchline of the company now. And I'm extremely passionate about helping people with it, because I know how my life has changed once I started attacking my full potential, becoming the best version of myself, and starting to articulate the impact I want to have on the world. And I want that for as many people as possible, that are cut from the same cloth, because one, it's just incredibly fulfilling. Two, because I know it's necessary to achieve the mother goal of solving all the world's problems. So that's kind of a picture there.
What do you think is the biggest challenge people face when it comes to starting a fitness journey, or just trying to evolve into the best version of yourself?
It would be highly contextual, based on where a person's at in their journey, and kind of what their objective is and what they're trying to develop. There could be a reservoir of different issues depending on where a person's at. Person A could have no problem. They just need a plan, and they're ready to go for it. Person B could have some type of identity issue or childhood trauma, or maybe guilt around losing weight, for example, maybe based on their family, something that happened in the past. Person B might have person C might have a belief issue where they believe if they get fit, it means they're taking away from their execution in their business and they're going to be poor. So there could be a myriad of things with beliefs, subconscious triggers, traumas, XYZ, right?
Maybe let's say for beginners, like if you're just a straight up beginner, like you're not an entrepreneur, you're someone who's like never lifted weights and you want to make a change. Like what are the overall, because obviously, like you said, there's always a bunch of specific contexts, but like what's the main challenge you think beginners struggle with when it comes to taking the first step?
I would say just knowing what to do, quite simply, right? I would say in regards of the thing to do would be get guidance, whether it's a friend that knows what they're doing, a mentor, a coach. Even you can look on YouTube and get enough information there to take your first few steps forward. I think that a lot of people in the beginners specifically, they get overwhelmed with all the information, right? There's just way too much information out there. It's like they're getting told to do keto and do this and that and this and that. And they're like, okay, what do I actually do? When in reality, like a lot of beginners should be just focusing on the basics that they already know to be true. If you walk more, you're going to burn more calories. If you do push-ups, you're going to burn more calories. If you eat less food, you're going to consume less calories. Therefore, it'll be easier to lose weight. If you sleep like more water, like focus on the basics, focus on the low hanging fruit. And it's almost just a placeholder for the journey, because the main thing that needs to happen when a beginner starts their fitness journey isn't getting into a super optimized routine or doing the perfect this and having the perfect diet. It's to simply start teaching yourself and displaying to yourself that you are starting to inch towards the type of person that actually prioritizes health and fitness. And you do that through your behavior by going for a walk instead of, chilling and eating another bag of Cheetos. That's a vote. This is a democracy for the version of yourself you become. And you need to just start making votes for that version. And a lot of beginners have this idea that everything's just so like above their pay grade, and they have, it's just like, oh, I have no idea what to do. You do know what to do, right? There are several key things that you can start doing that are within your control, and you need to start doing them. Commit to something very basic each day, a 5-minute walk each day, 2 liters of water each day, one of the two or both, or some kind of basic workout routine. Start committing to placeholder habits that start to prove to yourself that you are about this change, that you're going to make this change. And on the way, you can get a coach, or you can look at the next thing on YouTube, or your friend will recommend this routine and you can get better, gain education, gain confidence, but you just need to get started in extraordinarily simple ways. That's what I recommend to beginners.
Man, that's the words that you use to describe exactly how a beginner should approach a fitness journey is so articulate, but it's so powerful and true. And I think when I see people around me, or even when I think about myself, going from making the goal of because I started doing this in January. So before that, I was like, I just want to do push-ups each day, or I just want to make sure that I'm eating more vegetables each day. And then when you see the evolution happen over time, then I think that it's so easy to transfer those skills and that mindset into other things. So if you're an entrepreneur, what are some areas where you've seen entrepreneurs specifically elevate their business because of having a higher level of fitness, whether it be in their sales or whether it's in their speaking skills or whatever? Like, what are the areas that you have seen yourself firsthand that have blown your mind with, wow, like because their health has elevated, now they can do XYZ at a crazy level that they never thought possible?
Yeah. So, I mean, some of the main ones regarding some of the most potent concepts that generate like changes in your entrepreneurial journey, energy is one. Like a lot of entrepreneurs, they're going through their days as like a 20 to 40% version of themselves in regards of energy and efficiency. And they're grinding and they get not much sleep, and they're in this hamster wheel of just low efficiency, low confidence, and low amounts of time, because they have to spend so much time on their work because they're so inefficient and so low energy. And it's this nasty little spiral. You need to break this spiral, break the loop. For example, implement a habit or eliminate a habit that doesn't give you good energy, or implement a habit that gives you good energy. Boom. Let's say you increase your energy by like 50%, right? This means that you're able to be much more efficient. You're able to tackle problems at a better level. You're able to solve problems. You're able to take control of a room, have better meetings, right? And soon you start realizing you're getting time back. Your business is moving forward at a faster level. and you actually have time for other things outside of business as well. This is just one example that we've seen with our clients. Even in myself, I've asked myself along my journey, what concepts, because, success leaves clues, and you can even look at one area of your life and say, wow, I've really taken control of that area of my life. What are the lowest common denominators here that I could really apply to this other area of life that I'm struggling in? And I've asked myself, like, what can I apply from my fitness journey to my entrepreneurship journey? One of the things that comes to mind is just pure consistency. Like, I show up to the gym no matter what I'm going through. Unless I'm like super sick or something like this, like I don't miss the gym. I go if I'm not feeling it, like motivation, like it just always happens. It's always a priority, where I can't say that's been this case in all aspects of my entrepreneurship journey, where I will let some type of emotional hurdle get me off track or something of this nature, where if you were to just be as consistent as you are in your fitness journey with your entrepreneurship journey, things would change a lot. And this is what's required in entrepreneurship, is to execute and to show up when you don't feel like it. And so that's one that I realized personally as well. And also just confidence. Like, there's a certain level of confidence that comes with having a good body. It's not all of what confidence consists of. And I think it's actually a relatively small portion of it. For example, when I was super shredded, when I dropped out of university, that was when my confidence was at the lowest it was in my entire life. Right. And so there's a lot more to confidence than simply your body, but there is a level of confidence that comes with deploying discipline, showing up for yourself, keeping promises to yourself, and just prioritizing yourself and doing the hard thing over and over and over again. This gives you an intrinsic level of confidence that can't really be found anywhere else in life outside of this journey. This particular flavor of confidence, it can't be found anywhere else. And so you can tell when an entrepreneur has that and when they don't, and that certainly bleeds into their performance and their communication and their leadership in entrepreneurship.
You posted something recently I thought was so interesting. You went for a walk and you were talking about how you had lost one of your earphones, and you decided that you were just going to go for a walk without listening to music, and the amount of clarity that you gained from just not having a constant stream of stimulus going right through your brain.
Mm-hmm.
Talk a bit about what that, like, kind of the progression of what that walk was like, and what you think other people might find valuable from being able to go for walks or go to the gym without having to listen to music or whatever it is they're doing, not being distracted by stimulus constantly.
Yeah. So first and foremost, this wasn't really my main takeaway from it, but a thing that it will do is remove your constant desire for instant gratification, because it is a form of pleasure to consume, and to music, food, these things, they all give us a little bit of pleasure. And a lot of people are uncomfortable when there's no stimulus. They have to be doing something. They have to be texting. They have to be scrolling. They have to be eating. They have to be drinking. They have to be watching. They have to be doing something, right? And so I think that there's a lot of development to be found by just erasing the slate, like giving yourself just a little space to breathe. For me, this is a recent kind of realization and thing I'm now an advocate of, because I haven't really given myself much, I meditate, but outside of that, I don't really give my brain much space. And it's crazy, man. What I realized, like, I literally walked out the garage, and within seconds, I'm talking 5-10 seconds, my brain instantly went into kind of like problem solving mode. It kind of like, okay, so I have this, and this going on. There's this challenge. Okay, now let's put those aside. What's a solution for this challenge? Boom, 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 solution. Okay, I did this here. And my brain, it's different than when you're, I don't know why, but when you're out in nature and you're just walking, maybe moving your body, maybe just lots of physical space, I feel like your brain just kind of like is able to think on a slightly different playing field than when you're trying to digest a problem like at your desk in front of your same laptop, and you're trying to like figure things out in the same exact like physical space that you operate 90% of your day in. There's something about giving your brain a fresh slate on a walk in nature that just frees up some kind of bandwidth where you can have just higher amounts of creativity and problem solving ability. I have like a handful of data points to support this. So I'm not suggesting that this is a fact. This is just my experience so far. And every time I'm in nature, I end up with a clear head. I end up with cool action steps, or I end up maybe just with a sense of gratitude. Like, I feel like it just opens you up to really just analyze what's really important. Like, and it just gives you like emotional freedom almost. It gives you clarity. And to be honest, I'm not completely sure on the science behind this or why this is. All I know is that this is the case, at least in my experience. So I'd highly advocate people create a little space in their day. Again, this is why we have shower thoughts, because shower for a lot of people is the one corner of their day when they're stimulus free. And so if you are a person, for anybody, but specifically an entrepreneur that wants to max out their potential, I think it is valuable to have thinking time, to have clear space time, to think, to be creative, to find gratitude, to do all these things, because it's important in your journey. So yeah.
I know that you've also spent time being in different locations as an entrepreneur and have pushed yourself out of your comfort zone. What do you think are some of the actionable ways that people can take steps towards putting themselves in a different environment so that they are able to challenge and be okay with discomfort when it comes to whether it's being a business owner or just trying to increase your fitness level in general? Because obviously, for some people, it may be, I'm going off to the woods in Kyrgyzstan. And for other people, it may be, I'm just going to go on a retreat to some place in the woods. Like, what do you think that can look like for people, no matter what their situation is, or I guess what the range of that could be?
Yeah, so obviously it can be a wide range. There's a multitude of ways to push yourself out of your comfort zone and to change your environment. Some of which will be more effective and more applicable depending on who you are and what your current environment is. For example, some people, they need to, the most potent change of environment that they need is moving out of their house with their family or with their roommates, because they don't necessarily support their ambition. Even moving down the street would be highly productive for them if it meant that there was a different household environment that they could thrive in. Some people, moving cities would be beneficial, moving countries. I think that this type of move would be useful for a lot of people just because it gives them a different perspective. It's almost like a fresh slate, where they're entering into a completely new environment, where they're forced to maybe make new friends, new connections, and they kind of approach life from the standpoint that they are at that current moment with their ambitions. They're going to connect with people that are kind of on the same playing field, as opposed to, hometown, home city, hometown friends, where we didn't make our friends through like-mindedness. We made our friends like oftentimes in middle school and high school just because we sat beside them in class and we did a group project together and we started becoming buddies. And or in grade 4 you got sat beside somebody and they just turned into be your friend. And then 10 years later, things aren't necessarily as aligned, but they're still your friend. You still hang out with them, and you're really like, I really want to do this, and this. And like, okay, that's fine. And they're just doing their thing, and the standards are lower, and you really just need to get out and you need to expose yourself to new people. So this is kind of just like a big thing where if this feels applicable to you or your viewers rather, make some form of change. It will be scary, but the alternative is just staying in some form of energetic handcuffs, keeping you stuck to the current version of yourself or the previous version of yourself. So I think it's worthwhile for a lot of people. I think that you can also change your environment. A lot of people don't realize this, but you can also change your environment just by, let's say you do nothing, move nowhere, just start setting boundaries around the entities in your life that don't serve you. So if the same friends invite you out each weekend, start going less or stop going at all. If you're constantly watching news or not productive social media usage, that is also like a non-physical environment, but it's still an environment that you're exposing yourself to. So audit your inputs. Start to consume content and information from people that actually inspire you to be more, and people who you want to be more like. Like, these are very real things a person could do. Books, podcasts, audiobooks, YouTube videos. This is a form of environment, a form of stimulus that can be very productive in leveling somebody up without physically moving. Of course, moving countries, it'll be a great growth experience too. And then the last piece there is comfort zone, pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. This is a bridge that a lot of people are going to have to cross. And the thing is, this rarely happens out of necessity. Like, if you start in business, there's not going to be anyone pushing you to go to your comfort zone. There's not going to be, and maybe there is in some cases, but 99% of the cases, there's not going to be anyone saying like, hey, like, go do this, like push yourself here, go step over this line. Like, you're going to have to make these calls, and you make them by saying like, hey, you know what? I want to do this, this, and this. I want to create this business. But in order to do that, I probably have to maybe go to this event to start networking. I probably have to start a social media account to start it. And you're going to feel that feeling in your gut where it's like, ooh, there may be some limiting beliefs come up, scarcity, fear, whatever. You're going to have to deploy the courage to cross over those lines when no one else is looking. And you're going to have to eat it. right? You're going to have to face fears. You're going to have to intentionally face fears. You're going to have to view fears as a green light especially in the early stages of entrepreneurship when you really don't know what you're doing. And that's the only way forward, because if you try to stay in your comfort zone in entrepreneurship, you're not going to do anything. So you have to intentionally look for those comfort zone edges and lean into them.
Man, when you talk about fear being a green light, the first thing that comes to mind is when Tim Grover says, he's like, this is the difference between fear and doubt. Fear is an instinct. It elevates you. Whereas doubt, you create it. No one else did. Like, the only way that you can feel doubt is if you can feel doubt because of other people is if you let them, you let them into your head, then you can feel doubt. Whereas fear is playing to win and doubt is playing not to lose. So you talk about those green lights, man. I just think of like crossing a rickety bridge and it's like, you got to cross the bridge, man. You know, like in Shrek or something, you know, like when Donkey's like shitting his pants about crossing the bridge and Shrek's like, well, we got to go slay the dragon. So we have to cross the bridge. And then you get over there and you're like, oh, that's it. You feel the fear. Exactly. It's uncomfortable. And you just choose to do it anyways. And then you get there and you realize, wow, I was going to have to feel fear regardless of what I was going to do. But now I'm actually at least here. So whereas if I wouldn't have taken these steps, I would still be in the same position I was before and still with the same fear.
Yep. And the fear is only going to compound if you procrastinate it. You know, if you wait to cross a bridge a year from now, there's just going to be that much more baggage on the decision to actually pull the trigger. And the fear that is greater than all of it is being on your deathbed, wondering what if, right? So you can use that as a perspective when you're thinking about, going to this event or reaching out to that person or doing this or doing that. Like, sure, that's scary, but what's more scary is staying stuck. What's more scary is being 100 years old and regretting not going for it in this exact moment right now. And so that's a great point you bring up. Man,
just gives me chills, man. Gives me chills talking about this and sharing so much insight, man. Like, holy, we are getting towards the end of our time. So I did want to ask you one final question. If you were to give one piece of advice to someone who's in their 20s, what would you tell them?
Cool. Yeah. So I know kind of like one of the punchlines of this podcast is kind of getting ahead in your 20s. And I think that one thing that I wanted to mention just based on that, I was thinking like, okay, that's the title. Okay, I should mention this based on the title, is to define what getting ahead really means to you. Because there's a lot of 20-year-olds that want to get, every 20-year-old more or less wants to get ahead, but a lot of them are dedicating the 20 to 25 to 27 years old getting ahead based on someone else's definition of getting ahead, based on their parents, what they think getting ahead means, based on what society thinks getting ahead means, based on what their counselor in high school thinks getting ahead means, right? And so it's important that you start to, if you're clear on this, start to execute on it. If you're not clear on what getting ahead means to you, start to think about what that would look like. And this doesn't mean you have to determine the exact career you want or the exact specifics, right? This stuff, like I said, unravels itself along the way a lot of the times. But what are the things that are most important to you, right? What is your value system? What do you value in life? On a high bird's eye view level, what do you want your life to look like? What type of like financial situation feels good to you? Like what is your dream? Who do you want to help? Like what impact, what contribution do you want to provide to the world? In what capacity do you want to work in? What are your interests right now? Start to put together this equation of what getting ahead truly means to you. And this is a process of constant clarification. But what a lot of 20-year-olds need to realize is that sometimes the road to getting ahead means falling back and not getting ahead according to those that are closest to you. And this is a crucial distinction, because if a person was only focused on getting ahead right out of university or right out of high school, they might go into a career they don't like. They might get ahead according to society's terms, but then they turn 30, 40, 50, 60 and realize, well, I'm not actually ahead. You know, I thought I was at 26, but I'm looking back like that was pretty dumb for me to really sacrifice my dreams and to live somebody else's dreams. And like Hormozi says, sometimes you have to let someone else's dreams for you die in order for your dreams for you to live. And this is, again, the punchline of what I'm saying is like, define what getting ahead means to you. There's going to be a bunch of judgment around you, maybe your friends, your family. You might get some direct resistance. It might just be passive, but expect, if you're going to go for your dreams, if you're going to actually like define it, so, you know what, I want this out of life. Pick the execution that makes the most sense to you, whether it's reaching out to a person or starting this or that. It could be 1,000 different things, and start doing it. Try. go full force, take messy action. And over time, you can make a pivot here, you can make a pivot there, but ultimately just define what getting ahead actually means to you. And then just go full force, unapologetically, start creating your dream.
Beautiful, man. I love it. It's wise words, and that message of not being afraid to pivot too, I think is so important, and just defining what it actually means. Because like you said, a lot of people that I've met, I'm sure that you've met, they make decisions in their life based on what other people expect of them. And even, I can't remember where I heard it recently, but when it was someone who was talking about why your grandparents or why your parents say things to you that you don't agree with, but you know they're coming from a place of love, because the world they grew up in is not the world that we live in now. So when you talk to your grandparents who maybe, let's say, grew up during a world war, they're going to tell you, don't ever spend money, park the bus, iron fist, all this stuff, because the world they grew up in, that was what you need to succeed. But the way that the world changes constantly, you have to learn how to adapt your methods and your execution constantly, because the world changes, right? You can't just keep doing the same thing over and over.
Yeah, exactly. And you bring up a good point there. And one more thing I'll say about this, because honestly, for a lot of people, that external judgment or the fear of judgment is a big factor in their heads. And it's actually what's keeping a lot of people on the sidelines. Like you asked, like, what is the thing that prevents people from getting to their fitness journey? The thing that prevents people from really getting to chasing their dreams journey or their entrepreneurship journey is fear of judgment. And the judgment may not even exist. It's just a perception of it that really gets them. And so what you're saying is a crucial thing, is a crucial tool for people to equip themselves with, is the perspective that the people around you, they may have your best intentions in mind, but they have their own beliefs and their own experiences based on their lifetime. Your grandparents are going to say certain things based on their paradigm of reality, right? Your parents are going to have a version of that, right? That came down from their grandparents, but they're also going to have their own experiences. And they're going to say, you should do this and that because of their paradigm and that reality. But you have to and your friends are going to say certain things based on their reality, right? And so you have to realize that a lot of the things that people are going to, like, a lot of the judgment or passive aggressive like comments you're going to get, a lot of people take them to the heart and feel them as truth, when in fact it's just a fragment of somebody else's paradigm that isn't even based on truth. It's based on their experience. And this can help you weather the storm a little bit more and not just take it directly to the heart and kind of like have like a moat around yourself where you're saying like, okay, mom, I can appreciate, or dad or grandma or friend, I can appreciate, you may or may not have this actual conversation with them, but just in regards of your internal dialogue, I can appreciate where you're coming from based on your experience, based on your paradigm of the world. You certainly think that this is the case. I don't necessarily agree with that. I'm going to keep doing my thing. And this is just a very sustainable way to maintain high spirits and enthusiasm along the way, because that's one of your greatest assets as an entrepreneur. Is just enthusiasm, and just going from, as I think it was Winston Churchill that says, you must go from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm. It should just realize that all the judgment you're going to get, it's not based on truth. It's just other people's experience. You can take it with a grain of salt, but just hold your own value system and your own dreams as your compass, and just be wary of other people's projections onto you.
I love it, man. I love it. It's a great way to end. I appreciate the time you spent chatting here on the pod, and it's always great to catch up with you, man. A lot of insight, a lot of great things to learn, and a lot of things to continue to learn as you go along your entrepreneurship journey and make such a huge impact with all the people that you get to work with, man.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thanks for having me on. If you ever want to run it back, let me know. Love talking about this stuff, and yeah, man, appreciate you. I hope this helps somebody out there.